Greens Farms Academy students, faculty, trustees, and members of the community, good morning and welcome to the 2010 Martin Luther King Jr. Assembly. It is an absolute honor to be introducing our keynote speaker, entrepreneur and businesswoman Lillian. Raised on a farm in Ballsville, Virginia, Ms. Lambert endured financial woes throughout her childhood and at the young age of 18, traveled to the north in search of a better future. Working as a maid and typist, Ms. Lambert realized that she was never going to get very far without a college education. After attending Howard University and working alongside Howard Neal Pizza, Lillian graduated from Harvard Business School in 1969, where she achieved a historic milestone as the first African-American woman to receive a Harvard MBA. After Harvard, Ms. Lambert founded her building maintenance company, Centennial One, which reached $20 million in sales after 25 years of hard work and determination. She has also written her memoir titled The Road to Someplace Better, From Segregated South to Harvard Business School and Beyond, hoping to inspire audiences to never give up the good fight of actualizing their full potential. So please give a big welcome to Ms. Lillian.
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning. Thank you for having me here, and I'll take accolades now for bringing a heat wave to Westport, Connecticut. I woke this morning to 27-degree temperature, and I checked my hometown in Richmond, Virginia. It was 32 degrees, and my other hometown in Sarasota, Florida, where I flew in from yesterday, it is 29 degrees. So thank you for the warm welcome. We are here today to pay respect to a person who had a great influence on many people and on the advancement of civil rights in this country, and that's Dr. Martin Luther King. I believe that documentary of one's life that is important, but his life's work was cut short by his untimely death. And I do commend the administration, faculty, and staff here for taking the initiative to expose their students to the works of Dr. King. And whether or not you believe in his teachings or know much of his teaching, I think we can all acknowledge that he highlighted some sensitive issues for our society. So therefore, I think it is very important that people of all races, gender, ages, and background know what Dr. King stands for. Is there any student here who can share at least one value that Dr. King believed in? Anybody want some brownie points today? There's a young thing right there. What is that? You want to share it with us? Happiness. That's right. Yes. Equality. Equality, that's an important one that I'm going to talk about. I'll take one more. But all the young kids, the young kids don't know him. That's okay. Let the young kids, let this, the young lady over there, no, let me take one of the young men, right there. Okay, that's okay. Well, I'm going to share some values with you today. He had a number of values, but I selected 3 that I'd like to share. The first is this: courage to create positive change and make a difference in the world. The second one is one the young man talked about there: equality and respect for all mankind, regardless of race, gender, or socioeconomic background. And the third one is lead a purposeful life and follow your dreams. So let's look at the first one. Courage to create a positive change and make a difference in the world. Dr. King said, change does not roll in on the wheels of inevitability, but comes through continuous struggle. Now, Dr. King, through his courage and commitment for change, he engaged in a number of activities that could cause change, and he was willing to make personal sacrifices to cause change in a cause that is greater than himself. And that cause was the advancement of civil rights. As a young man in his 20s, he was determined to destroy the shackles of segregation. And at 33, he pressed for civil rights with then-President John F. Kennedy. At 34, he galvanized the nation with his famous I Have a Dream speech on the steps of Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. And at the age of 35, he received the Nobel the youngest person ever to receive that award. He was recognized as the leader of the civil rights movement. You see, he was willing to lead others at his own peril in order to make change a reality. How many of you have heard of Rosa Parks? Okay, a lot of people have heard of Rosa Parks. Well, she's the black woman in Montgomery, Alabama, who sat down on the bus and challenged the system at her own peril. She worked as a maid, and on this particular day, she was very tired. She got on the bus and she decided to sit in the first available seat, which was in the front of the bus. Well, at that time, it was a law that the front of the bus was reserved for whites and blacks had to sit in the bus. When she was asked to get up and give her seat to a white person, she refused. She was therefore arrested. That started the Montgomery bus boycott. And Dr. Martin Luther King was the leader of that bus boycott. It was a political and social campaign to challenge the racial segregation on the public bus systems in Montgomery, Alabama. That boycott lasted 381 days and literally crippled the transit system there. Because usually it was just the blacks who rode the bus. And since they were not riding the buses were literally empty. That boycott ended only after the United States Supreme Court declared that the racial laws on segregated buses there were unconstitutional. Now, had Dr. King not stepped up and taken leadership of that bus boycott, those laws may never have been challenged. And you may be saying to yourself, but he was an adult, I'm just a student. What can I do to make change? Well, it does take courage to be a leader and to question the status quo. But let me share with you a couple of examples related to initiating change. One is a personal example, and the other refers to a young man about whom I read. And I'll start with young man. This was a young man who is UNICEF Canada's child ambassador, and he's the founder of a children's school in Tanzania and the founder of Hands for Help Foundation. He's 12 years old. And he was asked to share some important things that he would like to pass on to others if this was his last day on earth. And this is what he said. Though I'm only 12 years old, I've learned a lot in life. There are some key lessons I'd like to share with other young people, and one of the most important ones is this. No matter how young you are, you can cause change in the world. Some of history's greatest accomplishments were done by young people, particularly the early 21st century, when young people had rights and freedoms that were literally unheard of a few decades ago. Young people are ever more empowered to make change. So never let anyone tell you that age is a barrier. Represented in this room today, there are people younger and older than this young boy. So you see, you can have an impact on the world. Then I'd like to share a personal experience with you. And that relates to my experience at Harvard Business School. When I arrived there in 1967, there was very little diversity. In my class, freshman class of 800 students, there were 18 women and 6 blacks, including me. As a black female, I was a double minority. That was a real eye-opener for me as far as the concept of diversity, and came to clear focus with me. We black students did not feel that the leadership was committed to diversity, and we felt that something needed to be done. We didn't know what needed to be done, but we felt that we were the ones that needed to do it. We had no idea what would happen at the time, but we decided we would ask for a meeting with the dean. Now, we did that at great risk to ourselves, because we had no idea whether he would meet with us, first of all, and secondly, we did not know what he felt about diversity. We could have been punished, reprimanded, or even kicked out of school. But we thought that this was a cause important enough for us to undertake. Fortunately, the dean agreed to meet with us. And in that meeting, we asked him why there were so few black students at the school. His answer was somewhat not what we expected. He said to us, they didn't know where to find qualified black students. So we offered to help him. We agreed to go back to our alma mater, recruit students from there and to other universities, and he agreed to allow us to do that while he went out to the university, to the corporation, to receive scholarship money. Our efforts paid off. The next year, there were 27 black students admitted, compared to 6 the previous year. So it was worth taking the risk of doing that to cause a change at the university. Well, our efforts didn't stop there. We decided that those students coming in needed a support system. We did not want them to have to go through some of the things we went through as students, and we then formed the African American Student Union. And that served to provide support to those students coming in. See, it was important to us that we not only get the students in, but we wanted to be sure they graduate. And today, that organization is one of the strongest and most effective organizations on Harvard Business School's campus. Diversity is an area that you can have an impact on now. Having been educated in a diverse environment here at Green Farms Academy, diversity may seem commonplace to you, but that may not be the case when you get into the workplace. You may find yourself in a position where you have to support and defend diversity. So when you step forward and reflect the ideals that you have and those at the school where you were trained, or when you fall prey to others around you who may not support diversity. And diversity can include race, disability, culture, and class. But you need not wait until you get into the workplace. How do you respond when a new student comes to school that does not look like you, or has a disability, or does not come from the same background from which you came? Do you try to make that student feel welcome, or do you involve yourself with those who seem to enjoy capitalizing on someone's differences? Let's look at Dr. King's second value: equality and respect for all mankind. When Dr. King gave his famous I Have a Dream speech in 1963 on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, it was the largest gathering of protesters in Washington, D.C.'s history. But many of the people in the crowd, just as Dr. King, had not been treated equal by other Americans. Blacks were forced to attend separate schools, eat in separate restaurants, have separate and shop in separate stores. They entered hospitals from separate entries, and they drank from separate water fountains. And in some parts of the nation, blacks were not allowed to vote. Those were the days of segregation when, simply because of the color of people's skin, they were denied certain rights. I grew up in the days of segregation, so I have first-hand knowledge of the impact of inequality. Giving people equal rights does not mean giving them something for which they do not deserve or something they are not entitled to. It means simply giving them the equal opportunity to pursue their dreams and their aspirations. Dr. King's work was centered around equal rights for all people. Much of his work was about equality and voting rights. He fought against blacks getting fired from their jobs simply because they registered to vote. And he challenged those literacy tests that were administered to blacks only. Those tests were so difficult that even trained scholars sometimes had difficulty passing them. The tests were aimed strictly at the black citizens. Numerous people fought and died for the right to vote, and today many people take it for granted. So I hope that you in this room today, who are of the age that you can vote or soon will be voting, will not take that lightly, but will exercise that right every chance you get. Remember the impact that young people had on the election of our President Barack Obama? Every vote counts. Now, Dr. King's third value: lead a purposeful life and follow your dreams. We all have dreams, whether big or small. As a child, I had what seemed like grand dreams at that time. I was raised on a farm, and my dream was to leave the farm, go to the big city, get me a good job, meet Prince Charming, and live happily ever after. That was a vague, childlike dream then, and became more concrete as I matured. Then my dream became getting an education, building a better life, and building a successful business. Again, I refer to my 12-year-old friend I mentioned earlier, and this is what he said about dreams. The sky should be the limit. Do not limit yourself in pursuing your personal, spiritual, academic, health, financial, and social goals. Why cut yourself short? Reach as high as you can. You may not way there, but you will still be further along than you were previously. So I would encourage all of you to think outside of the box. Now, I have briefly discussed 3 values that were held by Dr. King, but I want to make this more personal. I challenge each of you to clearly define your values and commit to live by them. Instead of giving in to peer pressure and following the crowd, why not make yourself stand out from the crowd? Go inward and ask yourself, what makes me tick? How can I use my talents and my uniqueness to make a difference? From time to time, you may find yourself in situations where you are the only male or the only female or the only one of your ethnicity or religion in a given setting. Or you may be a part of a group at school that thinks it's not cool to be smart. Well, I read on your website that Ms. Hardman says here at GFA, it is cool to be smart. Now, I applaud her for expressing those in terms that you all can understand. But how do you behave when you get into situations, unique situations? Do you give in to the peer pressure and compromise who you are and what you stand for? Or do you stand out from the crowd and say, I am going to make a difference? I have frequently been in situations where I am the only female or the only one of my race. At that moment, I put my best foot forward to make a good impression. I want to stand out and be proud to represent my race and my gender. I want to show who I am and what I stand for. And you can decide to do the same. Be proud of who you are. Stand up for what you believe in and for what you know is right. What better way for you to exemplify the values held by Dr. King? In various ways, Dr. King demonstrated his values through word and through deed. In his first value that I discussed, the courage to create a positive change and make a difference in the world, it took courage for him to lead the bus boycott, the civil rights movement, and to lead the protests in Washington, D.C. His second value, equality and respect for humankind, regardless of race, gender, or socioeconomic standing. In his speech, I Have a Dream, his words reflect that value, and this is what he said. In a sense, we've come to our nation's capital to cash a check. When the architects of our republic wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, they were signing a promissory note, a note to which every American would fall heir. This note was a promise that all men, yes, black men as well as white men, would be guaranteed the inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. In his third value I discussed, lead a purposeful life and follow your dreams. Again, in his I Have a Dream speech, he enumerated many dreams, 3 of which are, I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of his creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. Another dream, I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. And finally, I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit together at a table of brotherhood. So what are your dreams? I encourage you to dream big, act bold, and don't be afraid to blaze your path to someplace better. Who knows, your path may become someone's highway. I like to use stories in order to make a point frequently, and I'd like to leave with you today a story about following your dreams. Once upon a time, there was a bunch of frogs who arranged a running competition, and the goal was to reach the top of a very high tower. A big crowd had gathered around the tower to see the race and to cheer on the contestants. The race began, but honestly, no one in the crowd really felt that the tiny frogs would reach the top of the tower. such as, oh, way too difficult. They will never make it to the top. Or you hear them say, not a chance that they will succeed. The tower is too high. The tiny frogs began collapsing one by one, except for those who still had some tempo in them, and they were climbing a little higher and a little higher. But the crowd continued to yell, it is too difficult. No one will make it. Many tiny frogs gave up. But one continued climbing higher and higher and higher. This one just wouldn't give up. At the end, everyone else had given climbing the tower except this one frog who finally reached the top. Then all the other tiny frogs naturally wanted to know how this young one frog managed to do it. A contestant asked the tiny frog how he had found the strength to succeed and to reach the goal. Well, it turned out that the winner of the contest was death. The wisdom of the story is this: never listen to other people's tendencies to be negative or pessimistic, because they will take your most wonderful dreams and wishes away from you, the ones that you hold dear in your heart. Always think of the power words have, because everything you hear and read will affect your actions. Therefore, always be positive, and above all, be deaf when people tell you that you cannot fulfill your dreams. Thank you very much.